Okay, so I will be the first one to admit that the algebra involved in doing these problems is a lot. I mean, you have to factor, you have to solve, you have to plug in some numbers, you have to do some shading, you have to write in inequalities, and that is just about everything that we've learned how to do this entire semester. So I get that it's a lot. So I didn't want to leave you without showing you that Desmos can back you up. So if you'll look, let's see, on my Desmos screen, I've copied this first problem, 2x squared plus x minus 10. I think that comes from right here, this one. I copied this one down, and we've already worked that problem. Let's see, where did we work it? Right here. So this is where we worked it. So you can see right here that this is the shading that we did. I might have colored in some more. Oh yeah, I might have written down the numbers. So there's the numbers right there that I wrote down. So this is the final answer. This is a shading. Now, I want you to notice that I copied this down into Desmos exactly the way it was. If I turn it on, it's going to show me what to shade. And if you click those two numbers right there, it'll show you 2 is one endpoint and negative 2.5 is the other endpoint. And if you remember, we got negative 5 over 2. That's the same thing. That's the fraction form. That's the decimal form. The bar underneath it means that these dots should be filled in, and I know that because these lines are solid. So this is showing you the same thing that this is showing you, shade between those two numbers. Negative 2 with a solid dot, positive 2 with a solid dot, negative 5 halves, or negative 2.5 with a solid dot, and shade in between. So Desmos is showing you that. Turn that one off. Which problem is this one? This is, I think it's this problem right here. Yeah, this problem right here. So this problem, Desmos told us to shade on the outside with open dots. So if you go back to Desmos and you turn this one on, shade on the outside, here's the two dots at negative 2 and at positive 3, but these dots should be open. Why should these dots be open? Because these bars are dotted. So these should be open dots. So we talk about numbers that are less than negative 2 and numbers that are greater than positive 3. That's what they're talking about right here. X is less than negative 2 or X is positive, X is greater than 3. And if we were going to write these in interval notations, it would be negative infinity, comma, negative 2. Yes, we would put parentheses because it's open. We would union that with positive 3, comma, positive infinity. Everything's going to be parentheses because there's no or equal to. Infinity never gets. So you could write it like this, or you could write it like this. And Desmos shows you what that looks like right here. Turn that one off. This is another one of those problems. The one with the -4. It's this one right here. So when we work this problem, turn this one on, we see that we have an open dot because it's dotted right here, an open dot at -4, an open dot at 1, and we shade everything in between. I believe that's what we have right here, an open dot at -4, an open dot at -1, and we shade everything in between. This was on part 3 video. And then, of course, the last one, I also put, if you leave the less than or equal to 0 off, you can see the parabola. And this is asking, when is the parabola below the x-axis? These x values right here, the parabola is below the x-axis. So you could always, did like I did in the drawing and graph the parabola. This is where these x values are where it's above the x-axis. These x values are where your parabola is below the x-axis. And then this one right here is the last problem. We would have a solid dot right there and a solid dot right there. And we did that one at the very end of this. And you can see right here that we are shading on the outside here. We shaded where the plus signs were, shaded here and shaded here. So x is less than or equal to 2 or x is greater than or equal to 5. And if we were doing, I don't know if this will let me write on it or not. No. If we were doing, see, I think I can do it like this. If we were doing inequalities, no, interval. If we were doing interval notation, we would write this one. By the way, this should be shaded. This is shaded. This is shaded. And if we were doing, this would be negative infinity is where we started shading. And then we stopped at -2. That would get a bracket. That would get a parentheses. And we would union that with, we start shading again at 5/3 and it's filled in. So 5/3, comma, and it stops at positive infinity. So that would be another way we could write it. And I believe that Desmos showed us that right here, shaded this way, shaded that way. And if you're not sure about that number, remember you could just do 5 divided by 3. And it shows you that 5 divided by 3, which is what we got algebraically, is the same thing as that 1.667. See, that's 5 divided by 3. Okay, so that's it. I know it's been a lot by video, but with this crazy week, we just had to do it. But the good news is that they're there. They're not going to go away. And as we prepare for our test, which is not going to be for another little while, but as we prepare for our test, you can always go back and rewatch the videos.